Shalom and welcome to today's Middle East Report. In this programme today we'll be discussing how one charity is making a big difference in the lives of children in Israel. Warm welcome to the programme, and my two guests today are a married couple all the way from North London, and this is Amit Frazer and also Keith Frazer. So it's great to have you both on the Middle East Report. Keith, I know that you've been on the programme before, different studios, but same programme, so it's great to have you on the programme. But Amit, you're an Israeli, you're what is known as a Sabra, so can you share with us your life growing up?
Firstly, shalom to you and to everyone at home. Obviously, I'm really excited to be here today, and I came to the UK about 11 years ago. I followed my husband, Keith. There's a very sweet story of how we met in Israel, and I leave it to him to tell the story. I never get it right. And since then, I was very much involved in advocating for Israel. I used to work for the Zionist Federation for about 10 years. And recently, last September, I've been approached by Migdal Ohr, the organization I work today for. And I'm really overwhelmed to work for this organization and for this charity because it's a very, very good charity, and it really helps those kids in Israel.
Excellent. Before I talk about how you and Keith met and ask Keith a bit of an introduction into himself and his work that he does, which is very important for Israel, but in terms of your own background, what was it like growing up and living in Israel? Because you were born in the city, which is Jerusalem.
Yeah, I actually was born in Bet Shemesh, but, sorry, I have to go back. So I was born in Jerusalem, but I grew up in Bet Shemesh. And back in the days, I had very normal upbringing. I was a very happy child. You know, I never understood about the conflict in Israel. So I was a very, very happy child.
Excellent. And Keith, it's great to have you back on the Middle East Report. So would you share something about your background, obviously, growing up here in the UK?
Growing up here, I'm a North London boy. I used to go to a Jewish school in North London. Come from a traditional family, not a religious family per se. Grew up obviously very pro-Israel. From a very early age, I knew the importance of our homeland. You know, when you pick up a Jewish prayer book, in every page it mentions Israel, children of Israel, Zion, etc. So you kind of realise the importance it has for our people, for our history, for our future. And growing up, as I said, I went to a Jewish school. I've always been a traditional Jew rather than an ultra-religious Jew. But yeah, and now I'm very much involved in the cause. I think it's very important to promote our story, which has been so vilified by people who just want to criticise us, to find fault with us, and actually to find ways to hate us. And I feel very strongly, and I've been very involved over the years, to do my best to help myself and help others to actually reach out and allow people to realise the beauty of Israel, what it stands for, and actually the source of light it is to that region and the world.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. So the big question really is how did you meet Amit?
Well,
because you're the ultimate Israeli, you're the ultimate Zionist in bringing in Israeli here.
Well, actually, you could say I'm the ultimate anti-Zionist for bringing in Israeli here. I should be going there, really. That's the Zionist dream. But for economic reasons, for a variety of reasons, we're still here. I'm a very proud Englishman, by the way, as well as being a proud Israelite. I'm a very proud Brit. Yeah, we met in Israel in 2007. I actually met her at the traffic lights. No, she wasn't a lollipop lady. She was actually in the car next to me, and I asked her for directions. And as it turns out, she's ended up giving me directions in life. So I'm not going to go through the whole story, but that's how it happened, and so forth, Simon.
Fabulous. And you're just in the process of setting this new organisation up called Israel Solidarity Movement, which is, I think, very much needed. So do you want to share with us and our viewers the nature of this advocacy work that you're doing on behalf of Israel?
Look, I come from a political standpoint where I don't believe in political correctness. I don't believe in treading on eggshells just to suit others, whereas our story isn't being heard. I believe in saying it as it is. And unfortunately, in this country, we're very inhibited by what other will will think. And I think the best way to go out and advocate for Israel is to spread the truth, say it as it is, say what we believe. We've always got our detractors. We've always got people who will hate us regardless. But I know the truth. Unfortunately, a lot of people out there don't know the truth. And my organisation will set out to say it as it is and to advocate in a proper way and to spread the truth, which is actually not perfect, as is nothing in this world. No democracy or country runs perfectly, but certainly it is a force for good in the world. It's certainly a force for good in the region, and as it is supposed to be, a light unto nations.
Absolutely, thank you. And Amit, can you share with us the charity that you represent, which is Migdal Ohr?
Migdal Ohr.
Migdal Ohr, sorry.
Yeah, so Migdal Ohr is Tower of Light. That's the translation for Migdal Ohr. And basically, this wonderful charity is looking after about 12,000 children, at-risk children, obviously from disadvantages, background, orphan, etc., in Israel, up north in Israel. They have a complete educational network, schools, after-school clubs, etc. And they look after those kids in a very loving and warm way. And obviously they embed within their educational philosophy a lot of Torah, because obviously the founder is Rabbi Grossman. And hopefully we will see a movie about him and about his philosophy and how he became, you know, this amazing spiritual teacher for all those kids. And I went to visit last October the facilities up north, and I was just amazed. You know, as an Israeli, I never realized that we have real poverty and real disadvantaged kids and orphan kids in Israel. I was quite, you know, I was quite amazed.
Amazing. So let's have a look now at the work of Migdal Ohr.
300,000 children in Israel are classified as at risk. Many of them have no roof over their heads, no regular mealtime, no one to nurture them with love and guidance.
From the minute that I got to Migdal Ohr, I understand that I'm not alone anymore. I have family, I have people that care about me. I'm starting to cry.
כל הבסיס של היהדות זה ואהבת לרעך כמוך. רבי עקיבא אומר שזה כלל גדול בתורה, שאדם ידע שהוא לא חי רק לעצמו, אלא יש לו אחריות על כולם. ובפרט לילדים האלה שאנחנו מתעסקים איתם, שאין להם בית ואין להם אהבה ואין להם טיפול, ואנחנו במקום אבא ואמא נותנים להם את הבית, נותנים להם את האהבה, נותנים להם את הטיפול, בכל.
Migdal Ohr is home to over 3,000 children in Israel, children that others have forgotten. For David, for Yael, Migdal Ohr is the only real home they know. This year, give your charitable donation a double meaning. By purchasing letters in the Torah scroll, you'll not only be fulfilling the 613th mitzvah, but you will also be saving children at risk in Israel, as all proceeds will go towards building a new children's residence for these needy children.
יש אנשים סביבי שדואגים לי ורוצים שאני אצא פה עם תעודת בגרות ושאני אצא אחראית לחיים שלי ושאני אצטרך לגדל את הילדים שלי, לא כמו שאני גדלתי. והמקום הזה נותן לך את הכל, את כל האפשרויות, לחיים באמת מאושרים וטובים.
Everything that I am today, that's Migdal Ohr.
Always good to help children, especially in Israel. Keith, now when it comes to the charity sector, I know that you've been involved in Israel advocacy for such a long time, but in terms of charity work, many would actually think that, you know, Israel now is a modern, high-tech nation, flourishing economically. Why does Israel need help from outside?
Well, why does any country need help for disadvantaged, for its poorer people, for its disadvantaged people? Unfortunately, Israel is a capitalist society, and while the capitalist society is not perfect, it has been proven across the board that it is possibly one of the most successful ways to run an economy. Unfortunately, through living expenses, through rising labour costs, rising housing costs, and general world economic costs, the cost of living goes up. And yes, some people are affected by that. In any modern economy, there is always people who are affected by the good and the bad. And the bad, of course, is that not everybody is going to be cared for by the Israeli government. Look, we have it in this country. We have a considerable number of homeless people, which I notice has been growing considerably over the last few years. You have a number of people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, whether that be broken homes, whether that be single-parent families from deprived areas. It's unfortunately, it's not a reflection, but unfortunately it is a byproduct of modern society. And while the government does plenty to help people from these kinds of underprivileged backgrounds, like any modern economy, it cannot and is unable to know about and to help everybody. And that's why you have charities. If we lived in a utopian world, there wouldn't be any charities. There wouldn't be any London Marathon, 25,000 runners, etc., etc. We don't live in utopia, we live in the real world, and we just have to do our bit to help others. It's just the way of life.
Absolutely. And Migdal Ohr does a lot of work, particularly in helping orphan children who obviously lost their parents and stuff as well. Can you describe how the organisation that you represent is really making a big difference in particularly helping orphans? And what kind of programmes and projects do they put in place to ensure their protection and ensure they're looked after?
So the beautiful project I've been exposed, and I actually went and see this remarkable project, and just when we're speaking now, they're building a huge building for those families. So they have foster care families. At the moment, there's 2 families, and each family look after 15 kids. They're all in various ages group, and they literally look after them as nurturing them, giving them the love and support they need. I went there and I spoke with those couples. It's completely interesting because those couples, they just decided to come to this project, to be part of the project with their own children. One of the couple had a baby, and then they decided, obviously randomly, that they want to look after those kids. Of course, those kids have a very specific timeline. They have their own schedule during the day, but from 4 onwards, they are with, obviously, their new parents. And it's just a remarkable project.
Excellent. And Keith, there's something remarkable about the Jewish character and the Jewish psyche, particularly when it comes to Israeli and Jewish people reaching out to others. And you know, if there's a national emergency somewhere in the world, whether it's a tsunami, an earthquake, or a natural disaster, usually see that the IDF through MDA, Magen David Adom, are first on the scene in terms of rescuing. What is it about the Jewish character that just wants to help as many people as they can. And I think it's a fantastic quality.
I'm not a rabbi, but one thing I did learn through going to Jewish schools is the notion of tzedakah, which is charity. And it's such a focal point of Judaism to help others. In fact, from my memory of being taught at school, they do say that 10% of your income should go to charity, just you know, by nature. So the whole notion of tzedakah, I believe there is something like 613 mitzvot, meaning good deeds in the Jewish religion. But as far as I know, the most focal and most important thing you can do is charity. Chesed, meaning kindness to others. And it is a focal point. And regardless of anything, it is reflected, that education, by what they do in Israel. And in fact, the diaspora Jews do an enormous amount for charities. They do say that charity begins at home. And if you look at some of the amazing charities we have here, Jewish Care, Norwood, etc., it's unbelievable the amount of support, financial and otherwise, emotional support, the support of human resources. It's incredible the nature of the education, if you like, of the Jewish mind and the Jewish philosophy, which is to give tzedakah and to help others.
Absolutely. And Amit, as an Israeli, sadly, the mainstream media portrayal of Israel is not one of that really helping others in need and distress. I mean, what other nation in the Middle East would open their borders on the really serious situation in the north and actually help Syrians actually risk their own lives by going into Syria, into no man's land, only a few miles away from ISIS and what have you, to bring these wounded Syrians, treat them, give them the right medical care, and then take them back. I don't know any other nation that would do that. I don't know any other nation that would actually send in special armed forces to go and rescue and bring a particular relative over to an Israeli hospital for a child that needs some sort of transplant or finding the same sort of medical condition. So what is it about Israelis that wants to help and will actually put themselves and their lives in danger in order to help, but yet the mainstream we never see this side of Israel, which is tragedy, in my opinion?
So as an Israeli, it's funny enough because I had a conversation yesterday with someone, obviously a Jewish guy here in the UK, and he said to me, what it's about Israelis that, you know, so determined, so passionate. And I said, I don't know, that's the way we were brought up, you know. We're survivors, you know. That's the way we were brought up, to survive, to strive, to do everything in our power to succeed in life. And, you know, it comes across in so many ways. And I think this is something that we have within us as Israelis, to survive and to find the best way to reach whatever we can in the best way.
That's true. And Keith, I mean, in terms of the charity sector in Israel, I mean, Israel does have a big problem with poverty, and that gap between the rich and the poor is growing wider apart, very much like our own country and other Western nations as well. But Israel's a bit different in terms of, because of Israel's security situation, Israel has to spend more of its GDP on defence. How much does that have an impact on the government able to invest in social projects, such as charities like Migdal Ohr?
Well, Israel's a country of, what, 7.5 million, and I believe it spends something like 20 billion a year on defence, something like 6% of GDP. Now, if you compare that to the UK, which spends 2%, which I think is the ruling under NATO of its GDP, you know, it kind of speaks volumes. 6%, it's an enormous amount. I mean, 19 or 20 billion a year on its defence budget is, I think, in the top 15 in the world. This is a country no bigger than Wales. I think France is only on about 50 billion a year. You kind of get the idea that it has to survive, as Amit said. And survival means security. So, yes, things go by the wayside. Money that could be spent on social care, on underprivileged children, people affected by broken families, as we discussed. Yeah, more money would be freed up. But such is the nature of survival. If Israel were to put its guns down, everything else goes out the window because we wouldn't have survival. So it does play a massive part, the fact that so much of its annual budget goes on security. But you have fantastic charities like Migdal Ohr, people who do fantastic things to help others. And there are numerous others exactly like it.
But I would like to divert, sorry, Simon, because it's important to say that actually the Israeli government does fund Migdal Ohr for 65%, which is a quite substantial number. So I think it's important to say that to our viewers, that Israeli government does fund the charity, and 65% is quite a lot.
Okay, let's have a look now at another excellent video produced by Migdal Ohr, and this one is called From Nothing to Everything.
אתם לא תמיד רואים אותי, אבל אני פה. ויש עוד אלפי ילדים כמוני. אנחנו לא גדלנו כמו כל השאר. אלה שכן רואים אותנו, בוחרים להסתכל רק על צד אחד. אני לא זוכר שאמרו לי שההורים שלי נהרגו בתאונת דרכים. הייתי רק בן 2. מה שסיפרו לי, שאבא ואמא נסעו לאיזושהי מסיבת חברים, ואותי ואת אחי השאירו אצל שכנים שישמרו עלינו. בחזור הביתה, משאית בצומת נכנסה בהם. ואז אני ואחי נשארנו לבד בעולם. אני כל הזמן הרגשתי חסר. כל הזמן הרגשתי בתחושה שאני מחפש את המקום שלי, מחפש את אני עצמי, מחפש את החיבור העמוק. זו תחושה שהיא מלווה אותך, תחושה של בדידות, ושאתה לבד בעולם. זה בעצם לגדול עם חור שחור בנפש. אני לא ידעתי את זה עדיין, אבל החיים שלי הלכו להשתנות בצורה מאוד משמעותית. בגיל 14 אני עליתי על הרכבת ונשלחתי לישראל כדי ללמוד בבית ספר מגדל אור. לא ידעתי שפה, לא היה לי פה אף משפחה, אף מוכר, אף חבר. הגעתי פשוט להתחיל דף חדש בחיים, כאילו נולדתי מההתחלה. הרגשתי שייך, הרגשתי שזה המקום שלי. למישהו מבחוץ זה נראה שמגדל אור זה רק מוסד חינוכי. אבל בשבילי זה היה הרבה יותר מזה. בשבילי זה היה בית. אבל לא רק בשבילי. מגדל אור הוא בית בשביל אלפי תלמידים וילדים מרקעים שונים, מרקעים קשים, שילדים שם זקוקים לחום, אהבה, תמיכה. מי שעומד מאחורי הארגון הנפלא והגדול הזה, זה איש שקוראים לו הרב גרוסמן, שהוא מגיע לכל מקום, ופוגש את כל הילדים ומלווה אותם ברמה אישית, בשיחות, בהתעניינות, באכפתיות, ולא יכול להיות מצב שאתה תבוא ורב גרוסמן לא יהיה לו פנאי בשבילך ולא יהיה לו רגע לטפל בך או לתת לך מענה. הצוות במגדל אור היווה עבורי מודל לחיקוי. מה זה להיות בן אדם טוב? ואני מרגיש שהרבה ממה שאני היום זה מה שהם לימדו אותי וחינכו אותי. לקראת סוף השירות שלי בצה"ל, היה לי ברור שאני ארצה ללכת ולעבוד במקום משמעותי, במקום שעוסקים בחינוך, שעוזרים לילדים להתקדם ולהצליח בחיים. עכשיו חזרתי הביתה. זה היה מבחינתי סגירת מעגל ענק. אני רואה בילדים של מגדל אור, ילדים שמחפשים מקום בעולם, מחפשים בית חם שתמיד יקבל אותם ותמיד ייתן להם אוזן קשבת ותמיכה, כפי שאני הייתי זקוק לזה כשהייתי תלמיד במגדל אור וקיבלתי את זה. אז היום אני יכול לתת את זה הלאה. כשהגעתי לישראל לא היה לי כלום. לא היה לי לא חברים, לא משפחה, לא בית, לא מקום בעולם. היום, ברוך השם, יש לי הכל. יש לי ילדים מקסימים, יש לי אישה טובה, יש לי עבודה משמעותית. יש לי כלים לעזור לאחרים למצוא את המקום שלהם בעולם. והרבה אני מרגיש שזה בזכות מגדל אור, בזכות האנשים הטובים שליוו אותי והאמינו בי לאורך כל הדרך. אתם לא תמיד רואים אותי, אבל אני פה. ויש עוד אלפי ילדים כמוני. אנחנו לא גדלנו כמו כל השאר. אנחנו גדלנו במגדל אור.
Off my shoulders, you're the anchor I'm holding tight on. Help me take this weight off my shoulders. Always run my way when I call you. You're the anchor I'm holding tight on to. You help me find my way when I'm searching.
And Amit, can you share with us something about the visionary founder of this remarkable charity, Rabbi Itzhak Grossman?
So Rabbi Itzhak Grossman, he's obviously the founder of the charity. His stories, personal stories, quite remarkable. After the second Lebanon war, he decided to do something good for the community up north. And one of his friends directed him to go up north to Migdal Ohr, which is a very small, I would say it's a small city up north. And when he went to Migdal Ohr, he used to go to discos, and he used to meet all those children and youth that basically were quite lost. And he used to visit them every day and to give them some of his really wise thought. And eventually one day, I think he knew someone from the disco went to jail. So he went to visit him in jail. And this guy in jail was absolutely overwhelmed that he came to visit him. So at the end of the meeting, Rabbi Grossman hugged him and kissed him on his forehead. And then basically this guy was crying. So Rabbi Grossman asked him, "Why are you crying?" He said to him, this boy, "I never had any kiss or any hug from anyone." Wow. So from that moment, and even when I talk about that, it makes me very emotional to think that obviously he never had any love in his life. So that moment was like a bulb moment in his head, and he thought to himself, "Oh my God, how can I change this person's life? Because I had love in my life, but this person never had a love." And from that day, he decided that he will look after children. But this is obviously a long, long story. So he decided to look after children, to educate them, and to give them a lot of love and warmth.
Absolutely. Keith, your wife's very passionate about Migdal Ohr, and particularly the work that they do as well. But when it comes to the charity work, particularly in Israel, we see that so many Israelis actually volunteer their time to work for charities, as well as working ridiculous long hours in their work as well. Can you share something about what maybe we could learn in Britain about the way that Israelis do charities and the way that they do charity work and reaching out to the vulnerable?
Well, look, I mean, you can see it so much. Everybody seems to be for themselves. We live in a modern digital society where everyone's taking selfies. Well, the word selfie means you have the word in there. The root word is self.
Absolutely.
I.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, that is not a particularly healthy way forward. We live in a fantastic modern society where we have a lot of access to modern technology, enormous amount of abundance, but everyone is thinking about themselves. Everyone wants to take pictures of themselves and get, attention from themselves in some way. And actually, the best way for their own self-worth and self-happiness is to give. And I think Israel and Judaism promotes that. And I think that's something that people need to take on for themselves. And the story of the rabbi, I think it's absolutely inspiring. You have somebody there, and from what I understand from people saying he could have been an enormously successful businessman if he'd have chosen that route. He's a very bright man, a very, very pious, very wise man. But no, he chose the route to give to others. And you could be sure that in terms of his own heart and soul, that is where he probably gets his own happiness, by giving to others. So that is definitely a lesson that people can learn from. It's not about yourself always. Happiness can come from helping others. And that's why so many people do charity work here. I mean, we aren't completely devoid of it here, but Israel, as I said, and I do believe it, that it is a light, and the fact that they help so many, and this charity is definitely a light, is something we can learn from and be inspired by.
And Amit, I mean, you're very much involved in this charity. You've seen the headquarters, you've seen the work firsthand. But do you have any other kind of personal stories, particularly of helping orphans as well? Because, it's a tragic situation where children lose their parents, and obviously feels a huge emotional gap in their lives. They're probably lost in life as well, not having anyone to lead them and guide them, and how your organisation really does bridge this gap.
So basically, we have a very well-known story about David, and we're just launching a book about David, and it's going to be a children's book. It's going to be fascinating. So David, for example, he's someone who came from Russia, and basically he lost both his parents to a car accident. And he came to Israel, straight to Migdal Ohr. And since then, it's probably 30 years since then, he's part of the family. He got married, he's one of the teachers there. He's basically, that's it, this is his family. That this is a remarkable story that we obviously now doing like a children's book, so we can educate our children and our next generation how to be good to others and to embrace orphanage and disadvantaged kids.
Excellent. So let's have a look at another one of these excellently produced videos by Migdal Ohr, and this one is entitled Change for Your Future.
I definitely believe that the upbringing and background that a child has when he's young has a tremendous influence on his future success in life. The home that he's brought up in, the school that he goes to, the friends that he has, we see it all the time. It makes a tremendous, tremendous impact on his future success. In our modern world today, problems of hunger, abuse and poverty exist in all societies.
The youth is the most vulnerable section of any community. Street children and children coming from broken homes are unfortunately abundant.
Childhood is a time that you're building your identity. Who am I? What I want to be? What kind of responsibility I have to the other people around me? Imagine how this experience will affect what kind of person he will be.
I find kids, they're hungry. They have not what to eat. I find kids that they're dirty. My heart is broken. I have tears in my eyes. I never believed that this exists. You say, do something, save the kids. This is children, this is life. And I decided to dedicate my life to save these kids and give them love and give them education and give them a home.
As Jews and as human beings, we have responsibility for tikkun olam, for fixing the world.
And how you fix the entire world? You start with children. Because the children, this is the future.
There is a great synergy between what Migdal Ohr is doing in Israel and what the F.W. de Klerk Foundation is doing in South Africa. There is a common purpose. Both of us have chosen as our focus to reach out and to help children facing special challenges in their lives more than normal, ordinary children. Children with special needs. Children at risk. We strive for the same goals. All these children have great special needs. We see our role as lending a helping hand to help ensure that each and every child reaches his or her full potential.
Migdal Ohr educates the next generation with the values of Torah and love for our fellow men, each and every day, lighting up the darkness for so many who have lost the way, just like the word of Migdal Ohr, a beacon, a lighthouse for those who are in distress.
Migdal Ohr is doing a sterling job in the field of reaching out to children at risk. And so many children are at risk in this complicated society. I'm also impressed by the fact that Migdal Ohr does not discriminate on the basis of ethnicity or religion.
The most important, take the kids, build them up to build themselves. When you see the kids coming, with no future, with nothing, after they go to the army, after the learning, and they have the degree, when you see them staying under the chuppah, when they marry, they build their home, this is the most success that any institution can give.
The kids that we're working with, I consider them as my own kids. If we will show them love and warmth and facilities that they need and everything, they will grow as a strong person, with a strong identity.
There's a great need for children to get a helping hand to them.
Helping a child, giving him positive experiences while he's growing up, will not only help him, it can affect his family tree and the life of his children for generations to come.
Be a part of this.
Help fix the world.
One child at a time.
And that just gives you insight into the incredible work being carried out by Migdal Ohr. Amit, you know, you've been very much involved in this charity, in the charity sector for a while, particularly with your work that you did with the Zionist Federation. But how did you get your husband involved in this charity, Migdal Ohr?
So obviously after my first visit, I was completely overwhelmed. And when I came back, I told Keith all about the charity. And obviously I exposed him to some of the materials, the videos, and I think he felt quite compelled and happy to come on board. And actually, coming May, on the 5th of May, we are organising a challenge event, a cycling challenge event in Sardinia. So I definitely recruited him straight away to do the challenge event. So even though he's not a cyclist, he's going to do that with us. We're going to raise 30K for the project, for the Care Foster project in Israel. So that's quite exciting. And that's how, you know, it's very easy to recruit your husband, I think.
Excellent. Would you agree?
Look, when she went to Israel to visit the centres and then came back and told me all about it, it was inspiring, to be honest. And I thought to myself, I need to be doing more. I need to be doing more to help others. And you know what? You know, we all have our own story. We all have our own pains through childhood as well as positives. However good a childhood you've been through, there are always some pains that you want to exorcise. And actually, we do a lot of that through helping others, because we have that experience. You know, experience is something that you get just after you need it. Well, we can help these people. And when I saw the videos, when I saw the stories that she told me, it made me think, you know what, I should be doing more. She said, well, you could be doing this bike ride on the 5th of May, I think it is, in Sardinia. Okay, it wasn't so much Sardinia that attracted me, but it's very nice there, I believe. It is actually trying to help the charity. And when I go to Israel next, I would very much like to visit the centres, and I'd like to get involved because I want to feel good about myself in helping others. And I think everybody here watching this can also think to themselves, you know what, I can do more. Well, if you want to do more, there are many charities, but this is certainly a very good one. Excellent.
And how far you're going to be cycling? Just in case how far are you going to be cycling? Just in case any viewers want to join you.
I don't know, you have to ask.
It's about 300 kilometers, so it's a breakdown of 3 days, and it's a 300 kilometer. That's a quite.
It's a bit of a test. I'm not a cyclist. I certainly don't cycle on British roads, regardless of Boris's cycling routes or his Boris bikes. Safety reasons, of course, but I'll just have to sort of face the challenge. Look, you know, some of these children, what they've been through. You know, I'd much rather do 300 kilometres and get through that challenge than have to face the challenge that they've faced or are facing. So, well, we'll do it.
Excellent, excellent. And I have to ask you, because yeah, it's good on this programme that now and again we highlight some excellent Israeli charities that are really making a difference. And you know, one of the questions I'm always often asked is what charity organisation can our viewers give money to? So I mean, I regularly feature Magen David Adom, because I think they're doing incredible work.
It's a very wealthy family charity,
saving lives in Israel and what have you. And you know, here's another one in helping vulnerable children, because obviously the more children are protected, the more they're looked after, the more security and love that they feel, the better it is for Israeli society, and it better it is for the nation as a whole. I'm pretty sure that your charity, Migdal Ohr, is doing a tremendous job in helping so many vulnerable children, particularly those that are orphans. And maybe they can learn something. Maybe your charity can teach some of the British charities about how to act and how to really cater for children that are in desperate situations, because we are living, sadly, in a society, as Keith said, that is very much me-focused rather than community-focused. So the organisation does very much reflect those Jewish values. But in terms of reaching out to a Christian audience or Christian supporters, what message do you have?
So obviously part of our plan is to reach out to some schools, universities and communities. So I very much would like to reach out to the Christian community and therefore perhaps organise, you know, some trips to Israel to see the facilities and to visit the children. I mean, I'm sure it means the world for them to get some good visitors, people who really cares about them. And I think this is the first thing, so it's really to visit them, to go to the facilities. So if anybody, you know, who would like to go to Israel or plan his trip to Israel will go to the facilities, obviously we will coordinate everything and we will help them to get there and show them around. And I'm sure, you know, that's a complete remarkable experience to do. It's a complete life-changing.
Fabulous. And Keith, to actually go to Israel and to see the work of Migdal Ohr and to see the children, you know, that's something special. That's something that usually is not on the kind of tourist agenda, pretty much not particularly for Christians who like to visit the holy sites. But here's an opportunity to see the real Israel and connect with real Israelis and to make a difference, isn't it?
Well, definitely. I mean, yes, you're right. People want to go and see the tourist sites. People want to go and see the Wailing Wall. They want to go to all the Christian sites, etc., etc. But of course, if you dig deeper, you'll find some gems. And certainly, you dig deeper, you go to some of these centres, you can see some of the fantastic work that charities like Migdal Ohr does. And yes, there is a support network for people who aren't as privileged as myself and many others living in Israel, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Excellent. And Amit, how can our viewers get involved? I know that you have a website and your website just being built, but how can they actually get involved, and do you do any kind of projects here in London and the UK?
No. So our main purpose and goal in our mission here in the UK, we are the arm that raises funds obviously for the charity in Israel. What we do in here, so we basically reach out through events. For example, the challenge event, we will have some other events, and we have different plans for the year. But obviously, I would rather people either contact me directly or through a website, or we have a Facebook page, so they definitely reach out and we can tell them more about our projects and how they can get involved.
Excellent. And is there any sponsorship of any of the children? So, for example, any of our viewers that wants to support some of these orphans, that they can have that, they can see what's happening and how their money's being used to really make a big difference in their lives?
We have a program, we have a Sponsor a Child program, and all the information about Sponsor a Child program they can definitely find out on the website, and from there we can direct them exactly how to do it or how to donate. We can do that.
Excellent. And Keith, I mean, you're very much involved in an advocacy, and it's nice to do a programme like this because it just shows the real character, not only of the Jewish people, but also of Israelis in wanting to help and making a difference in other people's lives, and to be very much community-focused and trying to, in other words, save one life and save the world, as one famous Jewish rabbi said, I believe. So in terms of advocacy, how important is it to combine both that humanitarian effort on behalf of Israel, but also to speak up and defend Israel against the lies and the misreporting and the climate that we're in, sadly, today, which is a rise of Jew hatred in this country, which is unbelievable, quite frankly?
Well, my wife spoke earlier about survival. The first thing is to survive. In fact, every human organism, every living organism lives to survive, or survives to live, whichever way you want to look at it. So the first things first, we have to survive. Now, there are two wars which Israel constantly has to face. It's living in a region of constant war with its neighbours, and of course it needs to defend itself against the threat of attack or annihilation on a daily basis. So that's the first thing. But there is also the spoken war, if you like. I consider myself a member of the IDF, but the Intellectual Defence Forces, not the Israel Defence Forces, okay? Yes. Because unfortunately, so many people want to vilify us. So many people, for whatever reason, they're anti-Semitic. Israel's the easy way to attack Jews. Oh, I'm not anti-Semitic, but I am anti-Israel. Well, the two things are the same. And so, yes, we're fighting a war of survival, because the more people who vilify, the more people who spread this evil meme about Israel make it harder to survive, okay? Support economically, boycotts, etc. So the two things go hand in hand. Those are the first things to survive. Survive militarily, and survive, obviously, in the outside world, the spoken survival. That's the first thing. But then, of course, you go deeper, you've got the reality of day-to-day living, earning a living, earning money to live, housing, etc., schooling. And, of course, this is where imperfections lie in any economy. So the two things go hand in hand. You have to do what it takes to survive, and you have to do what it takes to help others, because that is part of survival. You can't survive alone. We are one, as you know, and as I'm sure you often promote on your channel. We are all one. So, yeah, the two things go hand in hand, and all as important as each other.
Okay. And my final question to you, Amit, is how much does Christian support mean for your organisation and the work of Migdal Ohr?
It means the world to us. Obviously, we are very much interested in the Christian community. We definitely want them to come to our centres, to visit the kids. It means a lot.
Amit and Keith, it's great to have a married couple on the Middle East Report. I think you've done very well, and thank you for explaining the very passionate and very important work of Migdal Ohr.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
And I just want to thank you for watching today's programme. I think what this programme shows really is the passionate heart that the Jewish people and the Israelis have, particularly to those who are vulnerable, to those who are disadvantaged, and those who find themselves in very precarious situations. So please do what you can to support the work of Migdal Ohr. And thank you for watching today's Middle East Report.